Hello and welcome to the Prog Analyst. Today we're going to be talking about the Peter Gabriel song, Panopticom. I've been using the Brightside mix for this transcription. I'm not sure it'll really make much of a difference though, since I just made a lead sheet. I.O. has to be one of my favorite albums from 2023, so I'm very excited to talk about this song, the first single from that album. We're in the key of C sharp minor for this song, and so for this first section, we start out with this is going to be 4 minor. This is just the 1 minor, but with an E in the bass, so in first inversion. Another first inversion chord. This would be our 7 chord in C sharp minor, and then down to A, which would be 6. So we have this kind of like descending bass motion from F sharp, E to D sharp, and then it jumps down to A. Notably, I guess the only time that we get a 1 minor chord is an inversion, so that's not like a super stable resolution there. But what I think is really great about this intro is just this sort of, it's very simple, but it's a nice case of melodic development where we have this melody. That's our starting little piece of a motif, about 1 measure long. We do the same thing, just down a step, and then we do the same thing down a step, but then we fragment this little piece, and we repeat it again, moving it down even more. So even though this measure is different from these two, it's still built from the same blocks. Then we end the section with a couple extra measures, really laying on that dominant chord. That's our 5 chord, moving between the G sharp sus and the G sharp, just delaying our expectations of wanting to resolve into the C sharp minor of the next section, which we do get to do. We have like a 4 measure instrumental section in C sharp minor. There's this little riff on beat 4 that happens over and over again. And then we move into the verse. So at least in the Brightside version, this sort of first chord is kind of ambiguous to me. I don't really necessarily know if it's G sharp major or minor. We just get that there's a G sharp in the bass, and so for now it's a G sharp question mark. We might get an answer as to whether it's major or minor later in the song. But for now, this section is primarily driven by the bass motion for me, going from G sharp to A sharp to B to D sharp. So there's no trace of a 1 chord really in this section. It's just this kind of build up. What I like about this chord is that it's not just strictly a 5 chord. It's not just G sharp major. We're really hearing this D sharp as sort of like the root of this chord. The only really reason why we think that this is G sharp major is because there's this like weird little background synth thing that's playing this pattern, which gives us the B sharps. Otherwise, we wouldn't really have any idea that this was G sharp. And I think going from this chord to this G sharp again, it feels like such a big transition, even though you're just going from G sharp major to this sort of G sharp ambiguous kind of world. It's just because of that bass motion. We have this sort of 4-bar melodic phrase. It basically repeats. And after only 8 bars, we get into what I'm going to call the chorus. The chorus has a higher melodic range than the verse did. We start with the title of the song on beat 4 of the previous measure, and then that happens every 2 bars that we get the title. Happens quite a lot throughout this chorus. We sort of have A, B, A, C, I guess, melodic phrasing, where this would be our A phrase, this is something different, we have another A phrase, and then this is something very different. Harmonically, we just have 1, 6, 7, 5 minor. I tried to figure out exactly what voicings the guitar was using, and I struggled a little bit because what I'm hearing is that the B and E strings are ringing openly on at least the first 2 chords. Once the vocal melody comes in, it's a little tougher. The problem is over this G sharp minor, I can't really figure out what they're doing on the G string that would kind of make sense. I have a little transcription of it. So these are just the chords of that section. The way that I would play it, based on what I'm hearing, is that I would do sort of like a C sharp power chord here, and then leave the B and E strings ringing open. This is basically like an A bar chord, but I'm leaving the B and E strings ringing open. This is like a B bar chord, I'm leaving the B and E strings ringing open. But then because this is G sharp minor and not G sharp major, it's like putting a 4 on this string is like a really awkward position for my hands. It's possible that that's what they're playing. It's also possible that they're just muting the G string. It's also possible that maybe they're not letting these strings ring when it gets to that chord. It's just with the vocal melody happening over it, I can't really figure out exactly what they're playing on the guitar there. But I just thought it was important to note that there are some tensions that are going on in the harmony there. Anyways, after 3 run-throughs of that chord progression, for our last phrase, we change. We have this 4 minor, and then we go to that sort of extended 5-chord thing where it switches between the sus, and then we do get an extra measure to, again, delay our expectations resolving into the next section. Now, here's the thing. I've called this section chorus 1 and this section chorus 2. I think there's a case maybe to be made that this is a pre-chorus and that this is the real chorus. I guess there's also a case to be made that this is the chorus and this is a post-chorus, even though it doesn't really sound or act like a post-chorus. My arguments for this section being a chorus would be that it starts on the 1 chord, and notably it's different than the verse where we had no 1 chord. So this really does feel like a resolution when we get to that 1 minor chord. It has the title 4 times, which I feel like is pretty indicative of it being a chorus. But in the second chorus, it's double time, so it's even more energy. It's a lot more exciting than the previous section is in terms of just tempo. And it's got, all major chords, so it's a much brighter section. So for me, I kind of just feel like the song has 2 choruses. What I especially like about this chorus is the harmony. It goes from 5 to 6 to 7, right? So we never get 1, it's just constantly building upwards. But what's really cool to me is that this section starts on the 5 chord, which is something that I don't think you get too often. I was thinking it would be really fun to make a playlist of songs where there's a chorus that starts on the 5 chord. And there are actually 2 songs from this album. The other one would be I.O., also starts with the 5 chord in the chorus. It's just something that I feel like I don't see that often. And I thought was really cool to see a song section start on the dominant. This sort of has like a A-B section where this would be a phrase, this would be a B phrase, A, and then B again. Obviously, the harmony is very different from section to section, but something else that I think helps with the sectional contrast is that we go from 4 measures of melodic phrases to 2 measures, then back to 4 for the second chorus. That kind of melodic variation helps us differentiate between the sections a little bit. Lastly, I noticed that a lot of these melodies go down in pretty much every section, right? This is, if we look at just the overall shape of this melody, G sharp, F sharp, E, D sharp, and then we kind of go up a little bit at the end. It goes down and then back up. But overall, it's like this descending motion where it starts on G sharp and ends on D sharp. Look at this one. Let's find out what's going on. Starts on E, goes all the way down to B. This one just kind of wavers, I guess, between F sharp and E. Doesn't really go up or down. But here, again, a shorter downward motion, but still goes down a couple notes. Finally, the last thing I really have to talk about in this song, I transcribed the second verse here because all the sections repeat except the second half of the second verse is different. It's the same chords, but our verse is extended, so our melody has to change a little bit so that it can still be interesting. And the way that he did this is by making the melody go higher. And we actually get a B natural in our melody, which kind of answers our question about what this chord is. It's G sharp minor because we have B natural. And actually, now that I look at it, this might be the only ascending melody in the whole song, which is interesting considering the lyric is look down from the skies and the melody is going up. That's the only time it goes up is when he says that he's looking down. I think in this case, this kind of creates the effect of the skies being up high because the skies is that sort of highest note of the phrase. So even though they're saying they're looking down, the emphasis is on that they are in the skies. Sometimes there can be a lot of power in just which direction the melodies of a song go. That's my breakdown of Panopticom by Peter Gabriel. Thank you for watching. Please like it and share it with anyone else who might be interested. And if you want to see more of these videos, please subscribe as well. Let me know in the comments if there's anything else about the song you enjoy or find interesting I might not have mentioned. Thanks again.